Hello and welcome to the Rose Snyder and Jacob webinar series. My name is Jessica Leitao. I am a manager here at RSJ in the tax department, and I will be your host. Today, we have a very wonderful guest, Leslie, who is going to talk to us about the pros of a back office accounting team. Hi, Leslie.
Hi, Jessica.
Welcome
Thank you
back.
for having me.
Yes, of course. So excited. You're my favorite guest. So here we go. And before we get started and get into all of the nitty-gritty, we've talked a little bit about before how there are many acronyms in accounting. And before we start getting into specifics, I think we should probably set the stage of what team you work for, what does it stand for, common misconceptions, I guess, that people think, and kind of move forward from there. If that
Great.
works for you, great. So what does FAS mean?
So, I am a manager in our F.A.S team here at
Right.
RSJ, and I get the question all the time, what is F.A.S? And F.A.S is an acronym for Financial Accounting Services. Other firms may call it CAS, C-A-S, or Client Accounting Services. And basically, in a nutshell, what we do is we operate as back office accounting for our clients. So, what does that mean, right?
That's the big question,
That's
yes.
the nutshell, right? So, from financial accounting services, we you can't really contain it in a nutshell because we are kind of a controller for hire.
Okay.
We we're outsourced accounting services that we can really tailor down to fit what the client needs are. So it's not a one size fits all. Not every client needs the same thing or would benefit from the same services. It can be anything from, coding transactions, credit card, bank account, transactions like day-to-day transactions. We can help with bill pay and expensing and reconciling accounts and maybe calculating and recording like more complex transactions, journal entries, and things that go along with that. And finally, we help, perform the close process, like the month end close to help everything get finalized for those financial statements to look good.
That was a lot. You were right. That definitely doesn't fit in a nutshell. But I kind of want to break that process out a little bit and kind of give more of like a high level look um, about the needs for a company in the back office accounting. So I know that we talked about transactions, we talked about financial statements, we've talked about, even software integration. But overall, I think what we're attempting or what we're saying is that we can kind of fit any of your financial needs across the board. So even if it's supervision, whether that's putting in the work to get the financial statements together, I think it kind of am I on the right track there with that?
You are.
Okay,
And, accounting is, a core concept of what we do, but some of those soft skills really help fit in what we can provide and help our clients get through their close process and their accounting woes and help, with that process.
right. So I think if we understand this correctly, and I think we'll talk about it a little bit later too, what we're basically saying is that FAS provides all of the accounting services needs for a company, but not on that company's property or not on that company's team. So we work adjacent with the company.
That's correct.
Okay,
So
great.
we stay in our office unless you'd like to come, unless you'd like a visit, but
Of course.
and we can do that. But most of our clients, day to day, we're operating completely separately and but still working alongside with them and
Great.
easily reachable. So you feel like we're in the office next door.
Which is wonderful. And especially in our crazy world today, there might not even be a next door, but I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit later too. Um, so we're talking about this right now. I guess one of the main points I wanted to start talking about is why is this even helpful? Why would you want a back office accounting team versus
Right.
an in-office accounting team? Like what pain points do we really work to address?
Right. And I that's a great question, and I hear it frequently. And so, really, what we like to come in and what we are best at coming in to do is we can alleviate your team that's already stretched internally. Either you've gotten to the point where you're too big and you don't have enough staff to maintain your accounting process, or you're growing and encountering new issues that are coming up
Right.
and your staff is already stretched and can't take on that extra load. We can fill in for staff that are going on, leave or vacation, or you're having a transition because, somebody new is taking over, or, you have somebody leaving and we can help bring in somebody new to take that position, or as ownership even changes. We've seen it as a company coming in and has bought another company, and
Hmm.
we're helping out in the middle as the new owners take over.
Got it. I think I want to talk about that one a little bit more, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Um, when there is a change of ownership, or there is, I mean, it also coincides with growth, right? If there's a change in management as well, what would you say FAS does really well to ease the transition?
So we are we bring the CPA experience. So
Okay.
my team has both tax and audit experience. We have CPAs, I am one of them,
Yeah.
and we come with that experience and we've seen a lot of different, situations that we've learned from or been a part of that we can lend to the situation. We bring not only, CPA expertise, but the expertise of the software
Right.
and, or new topics that they're encountering. So maybe they have outgrown their inventory process. Maybe, their accounting software doesn't handle inventory well, but they need to get that process under better control.
Right.
And we can come in and we've seen different software. We can help make that jump.
So I think, and I don't know this personally because I haven't worked in FAS, but I want to talk maybe a little bit more on that subject of kind of the expertise in the software and the additional issues that we kind of have a little bit more sight on because we have more clients in there. So, for example, if you work on multiple manufacturing clients, maybe it's something that you can transition between multiple clients in terms of software or processes. Do you find that we have, or FAS has a kind of like a well-written or well-oiled machine when it comes to like looking at something and seeing where there's inefficiencies? I feel, at least with our clients that we've worked on together, there's that. So,
Agreed. And the software industry is constantly changing and
right,
changing at the speed of light, it feels like. So, yes, we have the experience with our other clients and other situations, but we're also in a position with that experience to look at the new software coming out.
right,
We attend seminars and we're trying to stay on that, leading edge of the software to say, hey, here's, a couple of different softwares that we've had available to us, and then here's a new one. And we can go, check that out and see if it's even viable in the first place, and then set up a demo and see if this is a good fit for the situation at hand.
and it's going to be a little bit opinionated. Is there any software that you feel like you've seen lately that kind of gets you excited or that you've seen implemented well?
You know, I mean, something that's been, kind of taking accounting by storm has been NetSuite, which
Okay,
is
yeah,
a component of Oracle. And in my experience, I saw Oracle as a very large software ERP solution. And NetSuite has come on to more of the mid-sized range where there were not a lot of software options and has kind of taken that area by storm. And looking around, so many clients are either transitioning to it or or getting excited about it because it's got a lot of plug and play options. So this company may need inventory, another company may not, and that's okay.
right.
You can build out very easily a situation that works and a software solution that works. So just plug and play different components of it. And that's for a medium-sized firm. But, on the smaller end, things that work with QuickBooks and or I'm seeing a lot of, other accounting softwares now competing with QuickBooks and getting to the level where
Right.
they're doing that well. And there's a lot of plug and play options there. And that is moving so quickly that it's just impossible to narrow it down to just one.
Of course, yeah.
That
Just
gets me
wanted to
so
pick your,
excited.
I know, I just wanted to pick your brain a little bit. And kind of going on that same line of thought, not only expertise in software, but I think being in FAS and having an access to an entire CPA firm kind of lends a whole network of people that now your client has direct access to.
Oh, I completely agree. And, not only the CPAs on our team, we have to keep up with our CPE and we're going to seminars and learning, you know, the accounting regulations that are changing and also all the software and all the other leading edge
Right.
fun things that are going on. But we are connected to so many different clients and other firms that we have, you know, created a good relationship with, and we share information that we all benefit from.
Totally. And
And
I
that
think,
is part
yeah,
of that's one of my favorite things is, keeping there's so much going on that it's a constant conversation between us and everyone else. Hey, did you see this? Oh, here's the new software. Do you know what's
yeah.
going on with that? It's a lot of fun.
And I think as we kind of touched upon it, even with the software moving as quickly as it does, I feel like all of our clients are also moving at light speed as well.
Agreed.
And they have so many varying needs. And I think, at least with my interactions with FAS, we've had such a great ability to connect our clients with, you know, attorneys when it's necessary. We have consultants, we have, software, obviously, and even just even connecting with the tax side, right? So even if they
Of
already have a
course.
tax accountant or they have people that are helping with their audit or reviews, we have the ability to be like, hey, we actually have that in-house and I can throw a quick question past. So I think it's more than just even the accounting part and the software part. You are getting an entire CPA firm who
I
you're
completely
constantly
agree.
talking.
Yes, and that's a great point. We have a full audit team at our firm in addition to your full tax team,
Yeah,
and it's great to have, people in-house, but our network is very strong and attorneys and planners and, financial planners and
right,
all of the things going on that, we have such a great network that you can really hook into that network and get so much information and specialization at, basically the touch of a button or
right,
a phone call.
right. And again, I think we've had the pleasure of working together, and I know I've called you and been like, hey, like how would you normally, on clients that we're not even on together, and I that's always proven so useful to me. So I think,
Likewise.
yeah, thank you. But I think, that's a really great point about FAS and having back office accounting. It's really not even just what you're looking at the work getting done, it's how are you expanding your network and how you're expanding that expertise. And speaking about expanding, uh, a lot of companies don't have an actual location anymore. And I think FAS kind of provides a solution to that. Is that correct?
That's true. So many people have moved to a work at home situation. They've um, decreased the size of their office or
Right,
gotten rid of it altogether. And we can be that kind of brick and mortar location. We have our office in Encino. We have been a physical location for a long time, and we've been around for over 50 years. And we can be that, location if, they need a mailing address. We can be
right.
that centralized physical place that they can call their back office, and it completely blends right in with the rest of the, services that we provide.
I think even with our own firm being so spread across the country, uh, I think we've really found a place where that's needed. In my experience with my clients, we've switched so many addresses around for tax reasons post-COVID. Because, our clients have moved, their companies have moved, new companies in other states now, all of those wonderful things. So
Yes.
I know that for us, we've actually switched a lot of addresses to here. So I can only imagine how beneficial it would be for the actual accounting team to also do that as well.
Agreed. And then, it comes straight to us and we know exactly what to do with it and we can put it right into, the system that it's accessible to everyone and
Right.
it's a streamlined process.
Right. And we have people here 5 days every day, business days a week. So I think that also helps too.
Agreed.
So we've talked about like a lot of the benefits, but I think most people and most business owners are concerned about the finances, right? It sounds kind
Sure.
of scary hiring a back office. What finances will be incurred? How does that actually benefit? So let's kind of talk about a little bit why this actually could save you money and how it really will help benefit you in the future.
Of course. And it always comes down to the can we actually swing this
Yeah, of
financially?
course.
It's great to talk pie in the sky, but when you come down to it, having a back office team like mine can be less expensive than hiring those individuals that you would have to hire as full-time employees.
Right,
So you don't, as a, a separate entity, you're not incurring payroll or payroll taxes on our behalf. And there's no benefit expenses. RSJ is our employer
right,
and covers all of our needs as employees. Um, you don't have to worry about interviewing accounting staff. We handle all the interviews for our team and we keep that full staff going. And we have a ton of years of experience in our group all together added up in so many industries that you couldn't get that out of just, you know,
right,
those individual people if you were to hire them.
right.
In
And
addition,
yes,
I was
keep
going to
going, keep
say,
going. Yeah, keep
yeah,
going.
let me know if I get long-winded.
No, you're
Um,
good.
you won't need to hire any, supervision for these people. So you don't need to like, accounting staff that you might have internally. You might need a manager. You might need somebody to,
Right,
make sure that things are going well. But we manage ourselves and we have our own supervision and we make sure we handle the workload and any coverage. So, one of us is on vacation, we have a redundancy so that we're covered no matter what. And
right,
that's not something that our client has to worry about.
right. And I think you covered it a little bit, but I want to back up a little more to kind of combine a benefit and the financial benefit. When we're talking about hiring supervision and we're talking about the financial sense behind it,
Mhm.
have you found um, it has been, I know we found it is hard to get hired at RSJ. Um, but I also find that one of the biggest things that clients struggle with is the wrong person in the wrong seat
Oh,
in
yeah.
their financial team. So can we talk a little bit about that?
And that actually is one thing I love about RSJ, and that is a firm goal that we have the right person in the right seat. And because we have, a large group of us, we have been vetted to make sure that we fit into the seat we're in. So I am best suited for FAS, and
Yeah,
you are best suited for tax. If you were to hire somebody individually, there's a risk that maybe it isn't the best seat for them, and you won't really know until you've had them for a while. And it's much more difficult to make a transition to get them to the right seat or get
right.
the right person in the seat that you need.
Well, I think maybe we can talk about that a little bit later. Maybe coming in and seeing those inefficiencies, that'd be kind of an interesting conversation.
Of course.
But talking about the financial sense of it, and I think uh, we've talked about the hiring process even on our own internally for companies. The cost of firing an employee
Oh,
is immense because you
yes.
have the cost of rehiring someone else. And I think people and clients and people that are looking to back office accounting really have to take into consideration that you are no longer in charge of that when it comes to your accounting health. So I,
Absolutely. And another big cost that I have personally seen, and as a firm, we see this all the time, training cost is
right,
huge. So to bring somebody on and to go through all the training in whatever it is you need them to do, or to bring them up to speed if they're not quite at the level you need, that training cost is huge. And it can be, a big investment that you make in someone. And if they're not the right person, that's another loss that you're
right,
having when you let them go in addition to the financial
right,
component
right,
of,
right,
paying to have another person come in and the potential for, other things, down the road, it's not a worry if they're not your employees.
Well, and I think we can also talk a little bit about this. We talked about providing supervision. So does
Mhm.
that also come with training, the internal team that's there if you're working coincide people instead of just as the external team? So let's say you're working with the company as well. Does that help? Does that part of FAS's responsibilities or can be part of FAS's responsibilities?
So to supervise the
Right.
team?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes,
Yes.
of course. And we can come in and help be that supervision for existing staff already in the organization and be somebody that they come to ask questions, or we can help with their training as well. Maybe we'll come in and see, oh, hey, there's an issue going on with and this process or this software, and we're seeing that, oh gee, maybe there's a problem with the bank reconciliations, and on the back end we've done a little investigation to see what's been going on, and
Right.
then we can come back and say, hey, we need to change the way we're doing this to prevent errors or problems in the future, and be that supervision as well.
Okay, awesome. I was wanting to just make sure that we were on the right track with that. And I think one thing we haven't mentioned yet, and something that's kind of huge, is just general overhead.
Sure.
So, RSJ covers that. So the equipment, the place, the brick and mortar place, that's all covered completely separately outside of that accounting arrangement between
Right.
you and the client.
Yeah, and we have our own computers and
We do.
our own telephone, and you don't have to worry about buying that for any staff if they're part of our team,
Right.
and you don't need a physical location for them or to pay for their work from home office, because it's all covered by RSJ, and that is part of our overhead, and agreed, not theirs.
And I know that we talked about this earlier, and I just want to step back into it before we kind of switch topics into more specific examples. What would a controller for hire, someone that is a controller outside of the organization, how does that really represent the client? Let's kind of step back into that role for FAS before we start talking about different things FAS can do for our clients.
Okay, so w- and maybe I'm trying to make sure I understand the
Yeah, no,
question.
you're good. Uh-huh.
But like, being a controller for hire, that is an upper level
Hmm.
skill. It's not it's going to be somebody who can look at the entire process, that can help streamline and look at how things fit together and make recommendations, and we can fit in with the team, but also help to change them in a positive way, in a way that is needed because the company is growing, and maybe you're getting to the point where you're going to, as a company, you're going to start needing maybe reviewed or audited financial statements, and that has never happened before, and we can help get the staff or get the financial statements and the accounting processes in an order that's going to lend themselves to that new need.
Totally, yes. That's exactly where I was going with it. So thank you.
Of course.
So kind of going on to that same note, we've talked a little bit about like just the accounting part of it, but I feel like there's so much more that FAS does that people don't even recognize what they need, which you've already kind of touched on one, audit preparedness, or
Yes.
reviewed preparedness. And I think if we want to delve a little bit deeper on that, because we personally have seen that on clients that we've worked on together,
Oh
the
yeah.
immediate need for change. So,
Absolutely. And we've had several clients where we've, you know, started to help them just as back office and help them with their accounting and look at things and look at the size of their company and how they've grown and realize, hey, you're going to probably need a review or an audit because you want to bid on large contracts
right.
or governmental contracts, or you need to get a line of credit to help your business grow, and all of those have the high probability of needing that review or audit, and we're pretty good at estimating when that's
Right.
going to happen, and we've seen it come back again and again where they're like, oh, the client comes back and says, gee, they asked for a review, you exactly
Yep.
called that, and
Yeah.
we nod, yes, yes. We were expecting that. So it's we have a knack for looking at the situation and understanding what is most likely to happen next.
So talking about even just that specific example, audit, getting ready for an audit, what is that? Can that be something that FAS is specifically hired for? Is that something that we really only prepare for the clients that we're doing back office work?
Oh
Is
no.
that okay?
Yeah, and that comes back to, tailored needs. So we can take on a project where we've helped, convert a client from a cash basis, which is, smaller businesses tend to operate on cash. When cash
Right,
comes in, they record it. When cash goes out, they record it. But
right,
as you get bigger and you start to need accrual-based financial statements, helping those clients make that leap into the accrual world. And we've come in and helped them do that in, maybe in preparation for an audit or um, in preparation to, you know, get ready to step into the accrual world.
right,
We've done it on a project basis, and we've also done it on, with existing clients that have stayed for the long haul.
right. And I
So
think, go
yeah, it
ahead,
can
sorry.
be
No, no,
project,
go.
yeah,
Yeah.
individual or, more long term.
Do you think, and this is just me asking for your opinion, um, I I think, and I want to see if you agree, I should put it that way. I think that we're moving into a world where you're gonna need to be conforming to GAP more and more than you have in the past. And I don't know if you've seen that necessarily with your clients. I've seen it consistently come up, especially even with like just loan covenants. Like there's a lot more language asking for that.
I agree. And it tends to, it's become the default in a lot of
Right,
the loan agreements that they want financial statements that are on a gap basis because that is pretty widely recognized even internationally, that
right,
that is a common format that everyone can understand. So, converting to gap basis is not putting us in a different galaxy that nobody understands the
right.
language. It's, getting to that common thread that people understand and it's so often asked for.
And I think just to provide some clarity, for anyone that would be considering doing that type of conversion, uh, for a gap conversion, what is kind of the steps that FAS takes to kind of look at the books? What is it that you guys provide the expertise for? So where do you step in and you're like, this is why we're so tailored for this job?
So it kind of depends on what's needed. So, fitting that project to the client. But
Right,
if it's somebody who has like long-term contracts, maybe they work on a project over a period of time and they recognize that revenue in a certain fashion. And according to GAAP, we might need to create a a work in process schedule in
right.
order to get that revenue recognition to be in accordance with GAAP. And this can be on construction type work, or
Hmm.
this could be on um, things that are being built, even, you know, um, intellectual property, but also physical items that are being built over time. Getting those, I think that's one of the more complex discussions of
Yeah,
of understanding how that revenue is then recognized. So revenue recognition is a big component of this. There's other, understanding payables and when to record a payable and why it's a payable at a certain time, and when to record any prepaid expenses and some of those other things that are also included in the accrual and GAAP world.
I completely agree. And I think there's a large need that people don't realize they have when it comes to these topics.
And it's one of those sneaky needs. You might start out as a small business, operating out of your garage or,
Right.
what have you. And then as things are going really well, you're running along and then all of a sudden it's like, "What? I've gotten to the point where I need financial statements," and it kind of sneaks up on you. And we've seen this so many times, but this is just kind of one of those growing pains.
And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head with that. It's a sneaky need. But what you said earlier was it sometimes can be contract specific for income. And I think
Sure.
both of us have seen that come up. And I think I want to kind of talk a little bit more about preparing those financial statements, because sometimes it's not as easy as you think it is, especially when it comes to consolidated ones.
Oh, absolutely. And it's not just a matter of, oh, I have my accounting software, let's hit print.
Right.
So
I wish.
I do too. That would be
Yeah,
so much easier. But then why would we have a FAS team that, comes in and
exactly.
does this? So, consolidated financial statements are, a great example of needing to come in and look at all of your intercompany,
Right.
balances between each other and intercompany revenue and expenses, and making sure all of those are removed. So you're showing a consolidated financial statement that is truly just the the results of the company without the intercompany additions on top.
Great. And if my internet goes out, I just got an alert that the internet's a little unstable, so I do apologize if there's any type of lag in advance. Um, I think, yes, the consolidated financials, I completely agree. It's not as easy, especially even on tax side, because I think a lot of the times we do have those clients, even for us, that might not necessarily understand the intricacies of the intercompanies.
Sure.
And so I think the expertise that FAS provides is so invaluable when you're actually looking to get a valid and true, even just a balance sheet. I
Yes.
think a lot of the time the equity section gets a little bit fuzzy. And as we heard last month with Stefan, I think that can be a huge issue when it comes to getting yourself into a place where you're actually knowing what your company's doing, which
Yes.
kind of brings me into my next point. Like, how do we help project? Is there a way that we can help save money? How do we help really take that leadership and supervision position with these clients?
So we have other projects where we've taken on and helped them create budgets or cash flow projections and helping them to understand what is coming next and to, I think I might have lost Jessica, and get, I think she might be back,
There we go.
creating budgets.
Jessica, could you hear us?
I can hear you. I don't
There
know if
we
I'm
go.
freezing, but yeah, thank you so much.
So back to your question, we can help create budgets and cash flow projections so that, clients can understand what's coming next and also compare what they're actually seeing happen with what they're expecting so that they can adjust the course now to prevent, any problems from arising or bigger problems down the road and try to adjust for it. And that's where, having those budgets, those projections can help give feedback to management so they can make good decisions.
I personally need that in my own personal life, so I can't even imagine how much more important it is for our clients, especially those clients that are coming up in the world. I think where we see, um, even with some clients that we have now, they're on the precipice of like, hey, this, the cash flow projection, if you're not building that into your system, you're going to be in a world of hurt. And I think we've all seen that's kind of like that point in which your company can make it or break it, especially if like how debt leveraged you are. So I think, personally, both of us have experienced that, I'm sure.
Absolutely. And so much so in the past year or two, it's become a big
Right.
point and it's kind of determined who's going to make it.
So kind of talking about that and, switching gears a little bit, not only just talking about the financial statement side of it, but kind of talking about the process side. I know here, even at RSJ, we are constantly reevaluating how we do things in our process for accounting, for tax, for audit. We're always looking at where our inefficiencies are, how software can fix them, if software can fix them. Is this
Sure.
a people problem or a computer problem? Where does fast fall into that?
And one of the scariest things you can say to one of us FAS team is, if we ask, why do we do this thing? And somebody says, oh, because we've always done it.
Yeah,
And that's
exactly.
probably one of the scariest answers, but it's something to reflect on. And we can do that even, at RSJ with our internal systems. But
Yep.
I've actually participated in a project where we've gone out to a client and looked at their processes and looked at their staff and from an outside point of view, I wasn't handling their account at the time,
Got it.
and just taking notes and asking a bunch of questions and coming up with ideas, either, hey, maybe we can have this person take on more of an AP role because that's what they like and they do well, or maybe this software is a good idea, or we can expand the options of the software by turning on a specific component so you can
Right.
use it in a good fashion to help you save time and money. And I think that was a really fun project because I got to come in and kind of, just take a look at things and look at the whole piece together. And it wasn't necessarily, from an audit standpoint and now, oh, if I find an issue, we need to fix it now for financial statements. There wasn't that kind of pressure. This was forward looking to, let's get ahead of it and try to, make things better before we actually have a bigger need for something down the road.
And with someone with FAS's visibility, and we talked about, the software expertise, but I think what you guys even provide more is that you're consistently taking your clients to the next level. So how much easier it is for you to look at a process and be like, hey, I know that that felt really comfortable, but you're actually doing, there's a lot of redundancies. Have you seen a bit of that come
Oh,
through with your
sure.
clients?
Oh, sure. And we all like our favorite jeans.
We do.
So, it's one of those things where, sometimes change is hard and we're not, running to try the new software, but if we can get through the initial stage, the initial pain of having to make the switch, we've seen so many people better off and have so much um, better results that are more consistent, more reliable, but also less stress.
Right.
And people aren't trying to run around like chickens with their heads cut off to try to do all the things they need to do when they could do it a little bit better and we could use their time to focus on the things that really need their time. And if we're having them if we're having, a seasoned accountant do, something that's more data entry and it's not really using their
Right.
expertise, then it's a bit of a waste. We can have them look at a report and say, hey, here's what I'm seeing from this, or, do some analysis or whatever
Right.
it is that might fit their skill set. And they could provide so much better information if they had that time.
Well, I think it's just, it lends to less burnout, right?
Oh,
I
sure.
think all of us are juggling so many different hats at work now. And if we were to engage with FAS, even if it's not, as the back office, but even just in this specific process,
Yeah.
you're going back to that saving money. You're reducing your likelihood of turnover, but you're also reducing the likelihood of needing extra positions to cover redundant activities like data entry, things
Yeah.
that technology has completely solved for us and we're still not using. Um,
Right. Or just, things, and I've seen this too at companies that have grown, but maybe their accounting department has stayed the same.
right,
And as they've grown and added new companies or new processes or new maybe lines of inventory or, products that they're selling, they just keep kind of piling it on to the accounting staff. And suddenly they're, running at the speed of light, but they're not necessarily given the time to produce results to management that would help them.
right.
So, they're just running as fast as possible, but not necessarily given the time to sit with it. And,
Not
and
necessarily in the right direction.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's a great point. They could be spending a lot of time, working on something that isn't providing value.
Well, and I think even in our careers, and I know you grew up in the same type of public accounting firm I do, uh, as staff, you don't know what you don't know. And I think that one of the best ways to describe FAS is we know what you don't know. We know exactly what you don't know, so ask or have us help you.
Right. And we're here to help. We want to see our clients grow and, move to that next level. It's a lot of fun watching this happen as it's just unfolding in front of you and knowing that we can help them make that leap and grow with a little less stress is, I think, the biggest goal.
And I know that you always get so excited when we talk about different projects that FAS has handled. And we've touched on one already with, the processes. Is there any other ones that you like kind of really represent how FAS could help?
Well,
Uh,
I spoke a little about contracts and
yes,
revenue
yeah. Oh, yes,
recognition.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, those are some other ones that I have had a lot of fun getting involved with. and learning about, the different companies and how they handle things, because
Right.
everybody's just a little different. But we've been able to get a couple of our clients working on a work in process schedule and watching them, go from a position where they didn't understand what the heck I was talking about to then saying, oh, okay, we have this project, and asking me, good questions that shows that they understand what's going on. And one of my clients is actually making a leap to new software
Wow.
that's going to help them do all the cost accounting behind their projects. And so it's not a manual process anymore. And I'm helping them get involved or I'm getting involved now to help them make this leap in the
Right.
software so that when they make that change, they're off and running, and they're so excited. I'm so excited. And it's just wonderful to watch this process. And when I first talked to them about, a work in process schedule and revenue recognition, I got a little look like, I'm not sure what you're talking about. But now they're carrying the discussion and they're out searching to look for ideas that are going to help them make this
Right.
leap.
And I think again, it goes back to the fact that you may not see the benefit of what someone's asking. For example, we do have people that are like, I don't need that. But
Sure.
once you have it, it kind of becomes like you can't operate without it. And I
Right.
think that's kind of something we want to talk about with FAS too. It may seem difficult to make the leap of saying like, oh, I need this financial accounting service.
Sure.
But once you see the benefits, the efficiencies, and hopefully the revenue increase from having great books and processes, you're not going to want to go back to not having, you don't want to go back to the Stone Ages once
Sure.
you have
And
a cell
all
phone.
that information that hopefully, these our clients are able to see, that it has been provided to them because of the change in process or the, change in accounting procedures. And that is something that I think is going to be hard to walk away from.
I totally agree. We do have a question. So I'm going to go ahead and ask if that's okay with you.
Sure.
It says, bank recs, month end entries, answering questions on how to classify things. Are these things that FAS does help with?
Absolutely. So we can help with the classification. We've helped with the recording, and we might have to ask about a couple of items to say, what's this, and get some understanding behind it. But we can either do the recording, answer questions about the recording and how to classify, and it kind of depends on what is needed and how that would help.
Got it. And before we wrap this up and go forward, I just want to make sure that we're completely encompassing all of the many facets of FAS, because as we talked about, it is tailored per client. So FAS handles everything from the day-to-day data entry portion through the accounting portion, being a supervising accountant, to an offsite controller, and then even an offsite consultant, while also maybe being the on-site address. I just want to make sure I'm catching all of the different pieces of FAS. If there's more you
Yes.
want to throw in, please do.
Well, yeah, and it's, that is a nutshell of sorts. Um,
Nutshell of sorts, yes.
yes, and consulting and
Resource manager, there we go.
I agree. I mean, I can't think of anything else at the moment, but it's just such a wide breadth of things that we can and like to do and do well.
Awesome. Well, Leslie, I don't have any more questions unless you have anything else you want to talk about.
I heard from a
Yes,
little birdie that today is a special day.
it is a special day.
It's your
It
birthday.
is my birthday.
Thank you for sharing your birthday
Oh,
with
thanks,
me.
Leslie. That was very
Happy
kind.
birthday.
Thank you. Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. It is my birthday today. I am older and wiser, hopefully. And thank you guys for sharing it with me too. I appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure.
Always with my RSJ family, so thanks. And everyone watching, thank you so much for attending. If you have any questions, always feel free to reach out, and we will see you next month.